You know, everyone who ends up making movies and telling stories for a living has a list just like this one. Films that got into you and had a big impact before you knew what they were critically, before you knew what a 3-act structure was, before you knew what an over-the-shoulder shot was, before you studied this as a craft, back when movies were just pure, uncomplicated wonder. Well, tonight I am going to give you my list. And this whole thing is what has caused me to spend my life making movies and chasing a career telling stories ever since. We're going to talk about them. So pop that tape in. I got you. Let's go do this. So these are the movies and the stories and the storytellers behind them that had such an impact on me that I couldn't see anything else but a life of telling stories and making movies just like that. We've got boxers that nobody believed in. We've got archaeologists with a whip. We've got a kid on a bike racing the moon. We've got everything in here. And it is all straight from my heart. So let's get right to this list with a movie that if you follow this channel, you have heard me talk about many times. It is my favorite movie of all time. One of the few handful of perfect films that exists. It is Rocky. Everybody knows this for its training montages, though a lot of people get confused and think that Eye of the Tiger came from this. That's not this. That didn't appear until later on in the Rocky franchise. This is the 11-time Oscar nominee right here that is so impactful that 50 years later, it's having a movie made about this movie being made. And this one, the steps, the arms raised, all of that actually got me. Watching it is so powerful. Even as a kid, some would have thought that it's slow. It's not like that to me. This is a real underdog story in every sense of the word, reflected in the writer and actor who created it. Sylvester Stallone, he believed in himself, 1,000,000 to 1 shot when nobody else did. That's what he put into this story to create Rocky. This is not just the blueprint for a boxing movie. This is a blueprint for what it actually takes to make something that nobody believes in yet. Whether it's of yourself or of something that you can create. And I didn't just want to make movies because of Rocky. I wanted to make movies because of the way Stallone made this movie. He wrote it himself by hand at first, slipped it in, did everything. Broke, had no money, stubborn, unwilling to take no for an answer. That is how winning is done, which is what he said much later in this franchise. This movie is the blueprint for sports films to follow and so impactful on my life. Rocky is in a league of its own. Now, the next one is one of the ones made by my favorite director of all time. That's Steven Spielberg. And this is Jaws, another one of the few perfect films of all time. And that's not just me saying it. You can check American Film Institute. You can check around and see critically agreed on perfect films, and you will see a few on this list. Though I had no idea that's what they were at the time. I just knew how they affected me, and Jaws terrified me and thrilled me at the same time. It scared generations of people right out of the water. That takes a lot of filmmaking and storytelling power. Spielberg going out, shooting this in the ocean because he really didn't know any better yet, but he had a vision and he stuck to it. No matter what, the shark that barely would work, he turned all of that to his advantage, not being able to wrap his mind around the USS Indianapolis scene and calling in the great John Milius, and then allowing the actor Robert Shaw to edit John Milius's work down to where it's one of the greatest monologues in the history of film, collaborative filmmaking. that should have won even more Oscars. It should have been the best picture. One of the best films, perfect films. Whether you like it or not is a completely different story, whether you think it's overhyped or not, but it had a profound effect on me, established my favorite director of all time, and it scared so many people out of the water. It's still legendary today. Jaws. Now, the next one up is really a group of films because I honestly can't distinguish one for the other on what affected me the most. I just know the one I saw first, and that is 1977's Star Wars. And I have all of the movies right here because when I saw this film, this was like nothing else I could have imagined. This was like nothing I had seen before. And it took me to a whole other world a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, and introduced me to one of my favorite actors of all time in Harrison Ford, some of my favorite characters to ever grace the celluloid and silver screen. Star Wars is a experiment in human imagination and wonder that has really never been equaled. And it had that effect on me when I first saw it. It made me dream bigger than anything had any right to for a kid in rural Georgia watching this thing. Han Solo and Chewie, the renegade guys with a heart of gold that were going to do the right thing underneath it all. That's who I set out to be. Not perfect, to be those guys who told it like it was and did what they needed to do and still did it with the right heart and morals underneath. They didn't worry about the dark side or the light side. They didn't worry about that. They worried about what was true to them. That's what this movie is, big and sprawling as it is. It feels, all of them feel older, used, lived in, with a message that is valuable and filmmaking techniques that should still be used today because they hold more creativity, more charm and ingenuity than anything you're going to get from big budget CGI. A lesson that George Lucas himself unfortunately forgot. But for me, the story that unfolded in front of me affected me so much. I still love these movies today, and I just want what's best for them to take me back to those places every single time. Star Wars ignited imagination in me and for millions of people across generations. It is one that left a mark. Now, the next one up is also by my favorite director of all time, and he joined forces with the director who gave us Star Wars to bring us Indiana Jones. And listen, Raiders of the Lost Ark is, for us, that wasn't Indiana Jones and the whatever back then. It was Raiders. It was Raiders of the Lost Ark, and Indiana Jones was the character that we love, that I love. And this one did something very specific and very lasting to me. It made me want to do two different things at one time. It made me want to make movies just like this, and it made me want to become a historian and an archaeologist just like Indiana Jones. That's power. Indiana Jones made me want to be that, chasing history through jungles and temples and teaching it in class and all of that. And I became a history teacher largely because of this, and a filmmaker too. That is just exceptional power in filmmaking right there, to make a kid want to do both of those things and make it last to the point where he follows through and does both professionally. When somebody asks me, what is the perfect adventure film? It's Indiana Jones. Which one? It's Raiders of the Lost Ark, and really The Last Crusade too. This is another one of the handfuls of perfect films that exist. Whether you like it or not, you can't argue that. It is a perfect film, and maybe I'll do a list of what I consider to be perfect films, not just give you American Film Institute's agreed upon list, though surely we'd have some overlap. This is one of them, and it affected me so much that I still have an Indiana Jones leather satchel bag that I carried as a school teacher. Indiana Jones. Now the next one, listen, I'm a Gen X kid, and the Gen X, being left alone to go on adventures and get on your bikes and ride and get into spooky things that you conjure up in your mind with your friends, these adventures that just so happen to be real. That was every Gen X kid's dream. And Spielberg and Richard Donner and Christopher Columbus, they put it all together right here in the Goonies. And listen, the Goonies, this is Spielberg delivering again, but he was part of a big sort of holy triumvirate right there of filmmakers. And this is sort of a combination of all those things. It's Indiana Jones, it's Raiders of the Lost Ark, it's The Last Crusade for kids. It's Temple of Doom for kids is what it is. Real wonder, real danger, real adventure, real horror mixed right in with everything else. This movie was like a dream. Can we do that? Can I be like one of those kids in this story, running from the Fratellis, chasing the girl, chasing the treasure, saving my parents, doing these great things, all these fall vibes? I watched this movie so much. I rented it so much. My dad, my brother, my mom, they got tired of me renting it back in the day. It had such an effect on me. I try to have that sense of magic and wonder in everything I do. Now, the next one is very much a cousin to Rocky. As a matter of fact, they had the same director, I believe, in John G. Avildsen, and that is The Karate Kid. And The Karate Kid is another underdog story, a bullied kid. Maybe he is the bully himself, though, if you kind of look back at it now. A kid who has to earn every square inch of everything he gets. It's like a fish out of water. He moves from New Jersey to California, doesn't know anybody. He finds a beautiful girl who at the time I was in love with Elizabeth Shue, so I could totally commiserate with what he was going through. This one carries a piece of my own life in it, though, because I love this movie so much, and it made me want to make movies and tell stories, but never could that kid in rural Georgia on the carpet watching this movie again and again on VHS realize that one day he was going to write and direct a movie that starred Sensei Kreese himself, Martin Kove, in his film, and he would get to be friends with him and talk on the phone about other projects like he's a friend or a member of the family. The same with his son Jesse. Never would that have crossed my mind. That was the farthest away dream for a kid in the early 80s on a farm in rural Georgia. That doesn't happen, right? That doesn't happen. This movie ties to me proof that if you work hard and you dream and you keep trying, no matter where you are, you can achieve it. Because we had nothing. We had nothing. They might as well have been making this movie on the moon from where I was. And then 30 years later, 35 years later, a long time later, there I am, writing and directing a movie and doing a scene, actually acting in that movie in a scene with Martin Kove, Sensei Kreese, and his son Jesse. Absolutely incredible, a movie that shaped my love for films and my dreams to come all the way full circle like that. It makes a whole career worth it, no matter if you've made millions of dollars or not. That's not always the standard. This movie means so much. Now, the next one on the list is probably all these are like top 10, 15 movies, favorite movies of mine all time, obviously, too. This next one's probably top 5, and that is Ghostbusters. And this is, I think, maybe one of the single greatest summer movies ever made right here. Horror, spectacle, mystery, action, mythology, comedy, all of that romance woven right through seamlessly, the efficiency of the script, the acting on point, razor sharp, give and take, like these people have known each other their whole lives. Incredible. I love everything about this film put together. And if you handed me a blank page right now and said, invent your perfect movie, Chase, invent your perfect film from scratch, I don't think I could improve on this. It has everything in it that I like, and it's done flawlessly. It already exists, and it has had an effect on me my whole life. It's called Ghostbusters. Now, this next one I'm going to concede might actually surprise some of you right here, because if you follow this channel, you know how much I love Arnold Schwarzenegger. He has had a big effect on me. Working out, wanting to be in movies. I got a political science master's degree because Arnold went into politics. That influenced me, and I was a big Ronald Reagan fan, all that, and a history guy. It kind of all went hand in hand. And you might be surprised that I would pick this movie over The Terminator, but it's Predator. And why would I take this? Because it's Friday the 13th meets pure Arnold action. And John McTiernan, another one of my favorite directors of all time. This is like The Thing meets Jason balled into one, taking on, instead of a group of horny camp counselors, is taking on the baddest ass group of legendary strong guys in the history ever assembled into one film. It is the tightest action script ever in existence, maybe, the way it seamlessly changes genres throughout. That is storytelling and script writing that is on a whole other level. And I don't think it's appreciated under all the muscles and the Predator, outfit and his design, which is incredible in and of itself, never really even been able to be duplicated correctly. I've chased working on something like this my whole career, and that's harder in the low budget realm to get something that is so filled with action and everything. But this movie had everything in it put together in one film. You cannot ask for more than Predator. Now, the next one, I believe, is not only one of those handful of perfect films ever made. I think it is one of the greatest films ever put on screen. It's a Wonderful Life. And listen, this one could not be avoided as a kid. It ran on TBS constantly before rights issues came along later. And what struck me as a kid wasn't just the message of faith and everything in this movie, the faith of your friends, the faith in God, the faith in yourself, all of that. It was that the film actually had the power to deliver on something like that, to really put it in front of you and show you what it would do. And this has been so copied ever since. This story's been told in so many different ways, but it has never been captured like that your life matters more than you will ever know, that you touch the lives of other people and you are more important to them and everything you come in contact with than you will ever know or appreciate, that every life, every soul, every person is valuable. That is all here. And that's not something to just understand intellectually. That is something to feel in your chest. And as a kid, I felt that from a movie from the 1940s. It made Jimmy Stewart one of my favorite actors ever. Frank Capra, another one of my favorite directors of all time, because not just this, Mr. Smith Goes to Washington, Frank Capra is out there doing a lot of movies, but this one that he wasn't even sure he loved to start with, there's a reason why it finds its audience. I did a whole essay on this film. As far as I'm concerned, it is one of the best movies that exists. It tells one of the best stories that can ever be told, and it has the faith at the center of it to guide us. All you have to do is listen. I listen to It's a Wonderful Life and that message, and I try to put a little bit of that into anything I do. Now, the next section is one that I can't pick one because I'm a horror movie kid. I loved horror movies. I grew up on them even when I really wasn't ready to watch them, which is the case with movies like A Nightmare on Elm Street, the Friday the 13th franchise, Halloween, and films like Creepshow, believe it or not. Creepshow, all these movies that I watched so much and rented on VHS and watched late night on Joe Bob Briggs and first Elvira for a long time, and then Joe Bob Briggs and Rhonda Shear later. These movies, their practical effects, their scares, their moral lessons at the center, which is what they used to be. They used to be morality tales, which is why if you broke the rules like they laid out in Scream, you got punished because they had morality tales to them, but they also had that naughty side, and they had those scary practical effects and those monsters and inventive kills, and everyone in them looked like they were having the time of their lives, coming up with ways to scare you and jump out at you in the dark and make you remember these films. That's why those characters that I named are iconic. And this movie right here, Creepshow, it affected me so much. It showed me that you can put a bunch of these different ideas together, kind of like a comic book, so much so that my film Creature Feature, which is a horror anthology, I got one of the greatest rewards in my whole life was to hear Dread Central and Bloody Disgusting write in their article that my film Creature Feature was an homage to great classics like Creepshow. That is not a compliment for me. That is something that hits me being back to 8 years old. That's something that I strived for my whole life. And there it was from huge horror reviewers in huge horror publications, online review publications, saying my movie and Creepshow in the same breath. I couldn't ask for more than that. Now, mine had nowhere near that budget, but it had the heart and it had everything we could do to put it in front of the camera. And that meant so much to me, just like watching these movies back then. And now I'm going to tell you about the final one, the last one that sealed the deal. If I had ever been on the fence, that ended right around my senior year of high school when Buffy the Vampire Slayer premiered on TV. Now, this is obviously not a movie, but this is one that hit and stuck. And I said, you know what? That's it. I got to do that some way, somehow. I got to do that. And when this hit, I had just had my senior year ended in football with a bad knee injury. I wasn't sure I was ever going to play football again, which I was certain I was going to do before I ever got to any kind of filmmaking. So here was my answer, premiering out of nowhere on TV with a show that had an absurd name that I only recognized because I remembered seeing the movie several years before when I was a freshman going to my first ever football practice in high school. And here it was, and this thing blended horror, it blended action, it blended comedy, mythology, real history with fake history, all of that, like historical fiction with real high school life that I was going through. It was there, all of it, in one show, and the writing was some of the best writing that I had ever heard on TV, and it was not particularly close. The way these actors delivered these lines, the way the lines, everything was so tightly paced. Nothing felt lazy, nothing felt careless. Joss Whedon was on a whole other level, and right now his own stuff gets copied because he took that same writing to the Marvel Cinematic Universe, where he helped plan the entire good phases of Marvel all the way through Endgame, tying threads in with his writing, his storytelling in a way. All these quips that we don't like anymore, that's because they're trying to imitate the master of doing that correctly, Joss Whedon, and they can't do it. So that's where the DNA of all that comes. And people blame him. It's not his fault that he's often imitated and never duplicated. No matter however you feel about him over, a couple of people who had problems with him, despite the fact countless others had no problems with him, that doesn't change the fact that watching this changed me, because it blew my mind as a teenager. The writing still does. I'm doing a rewatch right now with my daughter, her first ever watch that we're watching through Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and the writing still holds up. The show holds up. It's smart. It's patient. Something said in episode 7, season 1 could matter big time in episode 2, season 7. That is nothing wasted, not a throwaway moment. Everything matters. Everything, just like in life. Man, that is a whole other level of writing and filmmaking, and you care about these people. If I was ever questioning it, this show solidified what I wanted to do. I wanted to make movies. I wanted to write and tell stories, just like I saw in all these other movies and just like I saw on Buffy the Vampire Slayer. So there you go. Everything from Rocky to Buffy to It's a Wonderful Life and Raiders of the Lost Ark and Star Wars and Jaws and Goonies. Everything in between that helped mold me, shape me, and make me want to make movies and tell stories. Nothing pretentious, nothing trying to talk down to people. Stuff about real sense of wonder, magic, history, things that real people can communicate with. Those are the things that last. And those are the things that made the impression on me and made me want to do this. And I wanted to share it with you. And that's what I got for you this time. Spooky season's coming up on the channel. I wanted to take this time to step aside and share a little bit of me with you. I hope that you will be with me on the ride during spooky season, 2 full months, starting August the 29th. Be here for all of this kind of stuff and more horror, Halloween, nostalgia, Halloween pop culture, everything we love right here for you all season long. And if you enjoyed this, please like, subscribe, hype up the video. That helps out so much. My Patreon is down there. You'll get extra looks at my filmmaking, get your name on every video, and it all helps the channel, and I really do appreciate it. But until next time, be kind, rewind like always. This is Chase with AV Pop Culture, and I'll see you real soon. Bye-bye. I know.